Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. My name is Mick Chambers, and I'm with Jack DeJesus, the Barebow Diaries on Instagram. How you doing, Jack? Good to have you on the show,
Yeah,
man.
thanks, Mick. Nice to be here. I just wanted to, before we start, I just wanted to give you your flowers because one of the when I was first getting started in archery, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but I didn't know where to turn to. I was just trying to figure stuff out, and so I accessed a lot of stuff on YouTube, and your um, your page was definitely one of the pages that I accessed, whether it was learning about equipment or even just getting started in barebow, and even a lot of the content with archers that you interview. And I think a lot of that has been really helpful for me as I continue to grow in this sport. So I just wanted to appreciate you for that.
Man, that's heartwarming. I always tear up on those things, man. That hurt. That's got me in the feels, dude. I
No, I
don't know
really
what the
mean
hell.
that. Yeah, I really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it a lot.
much because
Thank you.
I I've been following your career as you probably know. I'm a bit stocky on Instagram, and I watch you and I like all your stuff. I'm not just going through it and going click 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 click. I'm like, what's he doing now? Where's he at? He is getting so good, and like I'm so excited for you because you kind of have this great archery arc that I've been watching. And if people haven't watched that, again, the Barebow Diaries, it's all one word on Instagram. I think you got to go out and check out Jack. He's doing amazing. Anyway, this is all about you. This is all about introducing amazing and cool new archers. Tell us where you're from, first of all.
So, Mick, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, the city, not the suburbs, the heart of Los
Okay.
Angeles.
All right. City of Angels. Here
And
we go.
and I moved up here to the Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco, maybe in the early 2000s. And yeah, this is where I've been ever since. I live in San Francisco currently. Fun fact is that I know you're Canadian.
Yeah.
I lived in Montreal for like a year and a half, not too long ago.
You
I know Quebec is kind of the stepchild of Canada, but I really enjoyed I really enjoyed my experience there. I loved it. I had trouble like finding work, and as a Californian in that in in those winters, it was definitely an adjustment. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I found my way back to California. And so, but yeah, I did really enjoy my short time in the Canadian experience for sure.
Yeah, that's the full experience when you're up in Quebec, man. That's Quebec is like it's cold. It's not Canadian cold. It is cold, cold Canadian cold.
Yeah,
It is, but Montreal is a beautiful city filled with beautiful people, and
yeah,
I hope that left a good taste in your mouth. I'm not one of those
it
Canadians that
did.
say I don't. I'm all for having that culture and that amazing experience because it is it's filled with beautiful people. They talk funny. And I'm not just saying like they talk French. That French is beautiful, but they're it's a little bit
Yeah.
harder, a little bit harder French. But anyway, I'm glad you got to experience that, my friend. And
Yeah.
but so all this traveling, what's your background? What do you do for a living?
I'm currently a graphic designer. I've been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years. And yeah, I think uh, I've been able to actually incorporate that into my archery stuff a lot, whether it's supporting my local range by doing their newsletter, or even making little logos and stuff like that. I made this where is it? I
Throwing
made this
shot.
logo for Nick Hart, who you interviewed
Yeah, I love Nick.
for the TBC Archie Rendezvous that he does. And so yeah, so I've been able to kind of bridge those two together in archery as well.
Yeah, I keep missing him on the rendezvous. That rendezvous that you guys have is just unparalleled. It's pretty amazing what you guys do there. We have Etar. We on the East
Yeah.
Coast they have Etar. I'm right in the middle of the country, man. It doesn't matter. I could go. They told me when I moved to Kansas from California. I was actually in California too, Jack. I don't know if you know that, but
Oh,
I was out in
cool.
Calabasas, California for several
Oh,
years,
nice.
and then we moved to Kansas City for work. But anyway, long story short, everyone said, "Yeah, Kansas City is going to be great. You're going to be like right in the middle of everything. You can go anywhere you want." The problem with being in the middle of everything is that you're far from everywhere. You're not close to anywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that really kind of sucks. I wish I could get out to that rendezvous. That's really good. Later on in another show, we definitely will feature that rendezvous before it happens to get people excited and motivated for it. People that are in the north, or sorry, in the west. I think
yeah.
it's a great opportunity.
It's funny you mentioned that because I had an opportunity to move a few years ago, and I had already been doing archery for a couple of years, and I was thinking about moving out of state, and but one of the things that influenced my decision was like, what's the archery like in
What's the
that, and
archery scene?
so I ended up staying where I am because actually the Bay Area is like there's just like an abundance of ranges and just opportunities to do, especially like 3D, which is my favorite
Hmm.
game. Like a lot of 3D archeries and a lot of really good trad archery up here. And so that was a big part of my decision of staying here.
That's amazing. Hey man, we're getting a little off script here. I gotta get
Yep,
back. I gotta rein you back in here. So give us.
absolutely.
I'm kidding. Let's just chat and have a good time. This is my. I was telling you before the show. This is my comeback because I haven't been on for a while yet. You want to get that? Tell us. You can
I
get
got it.
it.
Yeah.
No. Go ahead. Answer it. We'll listen to it.
No, I actually got I had an alarm set for this, but then I put it on snooze, and it's
It's just reminding you that you got to get on
reminding me
quick
that I got
shots.
an interview. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Hey, no. All right. Though seriously, let's get to you giving us a few pieces of it, but let's get to your origin story. Where'd you start off in archery? Give us that whole rundown, please.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to keep it brief. But I first encountered archery maybe in the first or second grade
Uh-huh.
at the YMCA during summer camp. I remember it was one of the activities that they offered. I remember even back then, just like this is the coolest thing. Like, I think I was just really fascinated by the just the very bending a stick and putting a string on it and using it to project another stick. I just thought that was like the coolest thing, and I even after camp, I remember making my own kind of archery gear with stuff that I had laying around the house. Um, because I thought it was so cool, but unfortunately, that was yeah, I didn't know how to access archery resources or ranges back then, and there was no internet to be able to be like, where is the nearest archery range near? So that one sort of fell by the wayside. And then if you fast forward to 2020, um, that that was when pandemic happened, and like a lot of people, I was whatever sheltering in place, social distancing, and I was kind of losing my mind a little bit. And so I was like, man, I wasn't able to travel too much. I wasn't able to even just be out in the world. So I was like, let me find some hobby, right? And
Yeah.
actually, the first hobby I got into was collecting pocket knives because so a friend of mine got me into it, and I just sort of dove in and next thing you know, I had 30 of these pocket knives, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with all these pocket knives? And so, I think I remember being like, okay, I need something else that's gonna be maybe a little bit more practical for me. And so, a friend of mine, I remember she had a little compound bow laying around her house, and I just kind of hit her up on the whim, just being like, hey, you still got that compound bow? Can we go shoot it sometimes? And so we went to the local archery range, which is called Redwood Bowman. It's in the Oakland Hills. It was for a long time before I moved here to San Francisco. That was like my second home. But we went there and shot her compound. We shot it barebow. There was no sights
Yep.
on it. Shot it with fingers, no finger protection. The rest on it was like about to fall off. Like we
A
were
little
just
dodgy.
to little, um, but I remember after that, my fingers were bloody, and I remember being like, I need to get some archery equipment because I had so much fun. And then not too long after that, I got my beginner archery set, little PSE Nighthawk,
Yeah.
which is like similar to like a Samick Sage, some Easton Jazz arrows, those cheap purple
For,
ones that they
for
had.
yeah, purple or blue. Yeah.
The arm guard, the finger tab, the quiver, the arrow stringer, just your typical basic beginner set. And that sort of got me going. I started shooting in my backyard. I started going back to that same range and shooting. Um, I started watching a lot of archery content like yours. The other ones were like New Sensei, Clay
Yeah.
Hayes.
Love them.
Um, like all the I'm not I'm not wealthy or rich, so like accessing things like coaching was just not an option for me. So
Right.
to be able to access stuff on YouTube, social media was like really instrumental for me, really helpful. And yeah, and then I sort of got really into it when I actually um, saw a video of PJ Riley interviewing Matt Zernzak about aiming methods, and so he was
Yeah.
talking about instinctive, gap, and string walking. And
Right.
instinctive was kind of what I knew I was doing, but the string walking thing where I was just like, I was like, man, I was kind of fascinated by that. And then that drove me over to the push video that they had, the full length
Oh
video, and I
yeah.
started
Oh
learning
yeah.
about more about that. And then I was kind of fascinated by this whole string walking thing. And then I saw a video of John Wirt interviewing John Demmer about string walking. I think that's the first time I heard the term barebow. And then that drove me over to the Lancaster Classic
Classics.
barebow
Yeah.
final. And I remember just being like, I think that's what I want to do. I think it
Yeah.
kind of I was also an athlete when I was younger, and I feel like so I've always been interested in competing, not like not a hardcore, but just like I think the idea of competition is
Yeah.
healthy and fun, and I think that's something that I was really interested in as well. And and then I saw some other videos about like how to get started in barebow, and then that's when I first got my barebow setup, a Jillo G1, some Eucalypts. I got like actual
Nice one.
carbon arrows. And Yeah, that's how I got started. And then I started shooting with a group of folks from this archery range nearby called Ohlone Archery. They're an indoor range, but they also kind of have a group of folks that does like field and 3D. And so I started shooting with those folks. They interviewed me, did 3D. And that was another like,
That's
oh my
enough.
God,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do 3D. I'm shooting. I'm shooting foam animals. Like how much more of my inner child do I want to just
I
like
know.
sort of bring
I
out.
just,
It's just
when you shoot foam animals, it's really role playing. Like it's like I'm like,
totally,
you
totally,
know what I mean? It's like I'm an
totally,
archer. I'm an archer, and I'm sneaking up on this thing, and yeah, I got 10 points on this thing or whatever. It's so
totally.
role playing, dude. It's such a crossover. Anyway, keep going. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I got into 3D. I was doing that barebow for a while, but the other folks I shot with, they most of them shoot some version of trad, either longbow or recurve. They don't string walk. And Eventually we started, there was these trad shoots, trad specific 3D shoots that we'd come across where they didn't allow for string walking. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to learn how to shoot gap. And around that time too, I was starting to learn a little bit about longbow, and shooting with longbow wood arrows. I heard a Push podcast with Trevor Fielder where he was talking a little bit about that. And I was like, all right, why don't I just try the most difficult class to learn so I could start shooting these trad shoots. And that's when I got into longbow wood arrows. And it was just a huge learning curve. Like the from the actual bows themselves to like the wood arrows, and trying to tune them and get them right and figure out which combination of those was like the one I wanted to go with. And
Mm,
man, that took me like a year or two just to like really get that figured out. And and then I started doing pretty well. Started just competing a lot more in a lot of 3D shoots. Um, Most recently, this earlier this year, I I got my first buckle in the for the California State Traditional Championships in longbow wood adult male class, and so that was like something that was a goal that I was going for, and so I was like super juiced when I got that, and so yeah, and I think that's kind of my thing right now, longbow wood arrows, um, and yeah, I just love I just love that particular um, I love that particular class. I still shoot a little bit of barebow. I have a little. I even have like a wooden recurve that I shoot with carbon arrows, but I always just keep going back to my longbow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I think you answered this, but what's your favorite game?
3D for sure. 3D for
Okay.
sure. I do it's not my favorite, but I do value shooting spots like target archery, indoor outdoor, just because I feel like especially when I train for that, it helps make me a better. Everything goes back to 3D. Like I feel like every time I train for like a target competition, I end up bringing back some of that into my 3D games, and it makes me a little bit better.
Santa will never forgive me unless I ask you to become an outlaw this year at the classic. At the so are you gonna come?
I thought about it. I definitely That's definitely one of the goals that I have is uh, to shoot Lancaster, or even just to shoot more national tournaments because a lot of the stuff I do is in California.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd love to. Part of me also wants to try shooting barebow at the classic,
Nice.
just to
Yeah,
be able to, because that was because
that's a big show.
the barebow classic was the thing that really got me into
Yeah, yeah,
archery, and
yeah, yeah,
there's also a part of me that's like, I kind of would want to shoot barebow, but I think it would be also really awesome to shoot longbow and see how well I did.
yeah. I mean, getting on stage on longbow would be. Can you imagine getting on the stage with longbow and wood arrows? That would be ridiculous. I don't.
I
I mean, where you can I ask? I'm skipping ahead here a bit. Your arrows. Where are you getting your wood arrows from?
I've gotten them either from Wapiti. I mostly get them from Wapiti, but I've also gotten them from Rose City Archery. They both are based in Oregon, and they both supply Port Orford cedar arrows.
Hmm.
And so, yeah. So sometimes Wapiti will pop up at a lot of these trad shoots. They'll have a little vendor booth, and so I've also gotten some of my stuff there as well. Yeah, real
Right.
solid. I shoot. I started using the top hat brass screw on tips
Yep.
for my arrows. More recently, I used to just glue them on, and that would be kind of a pain in the butt. And the whole screw on thing is just like so much. I can't believe I just only started doing that recently, but they're just super convenient. Um, yeah, and I shoot big Ozark feathers.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So listen, again, I'm just getting jump around here. I teach me something. Teach me about these screw-on wood arrows. So I know, like I shoot with people who use these things, but how much does it going to cost me to get started with screw-ons? Like, I mean, in ballpark, and then what do I need? Like, I got to buy this special tool that squeezes the end, and then you got to buy a tool that. Yeah, tell me the whole story.
It's definitely an investment, and for the longest time, I didn't do that because I was like, I wasn't quite ready to spend that much money just to be able to screw on
Yeah.
tips onto my arrows.
Yeah.
So I would, so I, you know, so I, because the glue-ons are like considerably cheaper.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
Oh, way
So,
way cheaper. Yeah.
but the problem with the glue-ons that I kept having was that sometimes they would come off. They would get stuck
Yeah.
in the
Me too.
target when I'm pulling
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
The screw-ons are just yeah. I mean, they're you have to get the there's a set of tools that you have to get just to be
Okay.
able to just to be able to thread the actual shaft, and then to
Yep.
be able to screw the tip on. I don't know how much that cost. You're talking at
It's
least
okay.
yeah, you're talking at least $30 or $40 just for that part, just for those parts, and
Yeah.
then the tips themselves. I want to say they cost at least a dollar each, if not more. So it is quite an investment, but there is a convenience level that I appreciate with them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because then sometimes also I don't know if you're tuning and you want to kind of interchange tips around, you could just easily unscrew them instead of having to unglue them, you know, which
Yeah. It's a
so
tune. Yeah.
that's a yeah, so that's part of it as well.
So, what size arrow shafts do you shoot then? Well, you know what? Let's go back. Let's ask about all your equipment. Let me just cut to the chase. For the buckle, what were you shooting for the buckle? What equipment were you set up with?
My primary bow is a Java Man Impala Express. It is
Love Java Man.
the he has two competition longbows. The Impala. Um, he has the Express, which is the kind of the hybrid reflex deflex bow, which is what I have. But he
Yep.
also has the Supreme, which is a D-shaped bow, which is like the bow that I want to get next because I think
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the way that looks aesthetically.
Yeah.
It's totally a vanity thing, but I have one on order for
Oh, do
that.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And right now I think it's like 36 or 37 pounds off of my fingers. I got a triple T string on there. Your typical like bear weather rest, not bear weather, bear animal furry rest on there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the funny thing about talking about longbow equipment is it's not the same way as you would talk about barebow stuff. It's
I
kind of
know.
like, yeah, I
You
got
always your AAE plunger drop away that has
yeah,
the yeah.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
is it seal or is it bear? It's one of them
Right,
two.
exactly. Yeah. So
It's Velcro. It's Velcro.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's yeah. My plunger is basically a piece of leather that just sticks onto the side there.
That's right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I'm shooting right now.
And you've done some mod to coffee's handle too, right?
I
You
got
did you?
it. I actually got it secondhand from somebody, and so the grip wasn't quite to my liking. So I actually added some epoxy putty on the handle and kind of sanded it to make it a little bit more to sit a little bit more flat on my hand, which is
Yeah.
kind of similar to like a lot of recurve bows as well. Just a little bit more flat because it was a little bit more rounded, and I was finding that my hand was not kind of slipping a little bit, and I wasn't really into that. So
I was wondering why you did that because I I have the same bow, so
yeah,
I had him like I just said, hey, can you make this grip like the JD3 grip on my bare
yeah,
bow? And he said, 100% we can do that.
yeah,
And he did it's so close. It's close, right? It's not perfect, but
right.
it's flat and it feels so nice, when you're can't see my hand, but it's just like it's so nice. It sits in there so nice. I don't think I got to do anything to that bow. It's just great. It just again, it's going to shoot. For me, it's always going to shoot like 50 points better than I can shoot. So, as soon as I can catch up to it, I'll make changes.
Yeah, I think the person that owned it before me might have made those modifications, and that's why I had to bring it back to get it flat. I don't know
Oh,
that for
okay.
sure, but yeah. So I don't think I have a feeling that it
Wasn't
wasn't
like
like
that.
that
Yeah.
before. So, but yeah,
Just a
like
gorgeous bows.
yeah,
I love them. I love them. Smooth shooting. It's really good. Very custom bow. It's a custom bow. So yeah, it's nice. Anyway,
custom
so
bow. Yeah,
and you're shooting you're shooting wood arrows, Oxford woods, and what size are they? Did you say they're 5/16 or whatever they are?
no, they're 1132s. They're 35 40 pound spine.
Yeah,
Um, and I cut them. This was just during the tuning process. I left them pretty long, and because I have a short draw length,
yeah.
they look like telephone poles coming out of the front of my bow. Like people, like other archers will be like, "Are you sure you want to leave it that way?" But for me, part of it is a tune, and then part of it is because I like especially for trad shoots, I like having a 30-yard point on, which is roughly the max distance at a lot of these shoots. So when I see something that's far away, I'm like, oh, that's my point on right there. And so and then the rest of it is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. But on the east and Midwest, we don't 30 for longbow. 25 is the long
Mm,
shot.
yeah,
That don't we don't. I just when you get out west, do they start doing these really long shots? And then when you get over to Europe, when you're on Team USA later on, Jack, and you're over in Europe, you're gonna have to do those 30-yard longbow shots. So good
yeah.
thing that you're practicing them now.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just yeah, I've always noticed. I mean, different shoots do different things, but for most of the trad shoots, maybe 30 or 33 yards is the max distance. Sometimes there's some shoots that just want to throw a wrench in it and to make it like a 50-yard max or something like that.
Yeah,
But I think for the most part, it's 30-yard max.
yeah, but still pretty. It's a good shot. That's a good long way for a wood arrow and a longbow. Honestly, 35, 37 pound
Yeah, and
bow to get up to 30 yards.
yeah, and I gotta say, I fell in love with wood arrows, even though they fly a lot slower and they're heavier. But there's just something to me about just seeing, really being, because like with barebow, I shoot a lot lighter arrows and they're even shorter and they're fast. And sometimes I don't even see them as they're going into the target because
Yeah,
they're
zoom.
really small and they're just zoom. And then the only way I could know where it landed is by whatever looking through my binoculars or whatever. But when I shoot those wood arrows, I could totally see it and flying slow and it lands in the target. And there's just some kind of there's just like this really deep level of joy that I have just seeing that
Yeah,
because again, it's like a kind of a difficult class, a difficult kind of equipment to really be accurate at, and to just
yeah,
see it land, you're just like man, I can't believe that. There's a little bit of this. There's both like a level of confidence that I have, but also a level of shock. Like man, it really went in there. You know what I mean? Okay,
uh,
yeah. So that's what I
I
love
don't
about it.
know. When I started in archery, everyone said, "Hey, if you get a longbow, they're much more forgiving, and you should shoot longbow. You should shoot longbow." Since I've been shooting a lot of archery, I can tell those people, "Shut up! You're in, like, what kind of bullshit is this?" That's I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I still don't know, and I challenge anyone to come to me and say that a longbow is a lot easier to shoot than a barebow because that
Yeah,
is just bullshit.
yeah,
Um,
no.
longbow, that's one of the hardest classes you'll ever get into. Matching the arrows, matching, and people who shoot longbow should shut up about saying that it's much more forgiving. It is not. You're lying. You're just better than you think you are, and that's what bugs me about it. It's like, dude, you're putting yourself down because you're shooting way better. You're out shooting all of the barebow guys. I mean, this is so much harder. This is so much harder, and not that barebow guys couldn't pick it up and just really get good at it quickly, but those longbow guys are just tuning arrows. I mean, it's so much easier in barebow.
Yeah,
Not that it's easy, but I mean, it's easier. With wood
yeah.
arrows, you got to cut it off, and then you got to cut, and then you can't. You have screw in tips, but some people don't have screw in tips. You got to take the glue off. You got to move around and got to get the right way. You got to paint your arrows so that they look pretty. You got to get your bow so it looks nice. You got to put that little piece of leather or a toothpick or something on there. Anyway, my point is,
Yeah.
congratulations. It's tough and good
I
job, Jack,
I think
at
that's
being good at it.
part. I think that's part of the joy of it for me is just the whole personalization of it. I think
Yeah.
for trad as a whole, you show up to these trad shoots and you just see so much personality out there on the on the
Oh
on the
my gosh. Yeah.
course. Like people with whether it's through their feather through their arrow feathers or the way their bows look, or if they have like a animal tail hanging from their quiver, or they're dressed this particular kind of way. And I think that's part of why I love barebow too. Barebow is very much like that, but I feel like I think I almost feel like it's more so just in trad as in general. And yeah, man, I think that's why I kind of enjoy being a part of that community because
Yeah.
you could kind of just you can express yourselves a little bit more.
I would agree. So there's a lot of like, I killed this fox and now it's my quiver, type thing,
Yeah.
and like like in trad. But if you have never met Burnaby,
Oh,
like
that's my
he,
boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah, yeah,
that guy's
yeah.
unique.
I mean,
He's unique and great. You know,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
a great dude. He's very unique. Demer has his own style, right? You know, there's a lot of guys out there that have their own style on barebow,
yeah,
and they try and stand out. And I think that that's good, man. Bring attention to yourself, get the pressure, get the heat on you, and then you're under pressure all the time. So you just learn to perform under pressure. So
yeah. I
anyway,
do.
all you guys that
Yeah,
compete are great. Yeah.
yeah. I do appreciate that about the barebow community. It's almost like a kind of an in between of the sort of the what is it the fascination around gear and equipment that you might find with Olympic shooters or compound shooters, but with sort of the personalization and the fun that you might see in trad. It's like it's like that in between, and I think that's what I really love about that community.
Yeah, me too. That's what I love about all you guys. I love all you guys. I love
Yeah,
all trad, all single stringers. I mean, even the ollie
yeah,
guys, I'm okay with sometimes. Um, you know, no, they're
yeah.
all good. Hey, dude, I want to get to my. I've been dying to talk to you about your shot process because as a guy who's been watching you for so long, it has gotten pretty amazing. I'm gonna say something like, so we have a drill. I have a drill. I like to talk to about myself in the third person sometimes. You know, like where I pull back, I draw back, get the anchor, then I count to myself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, pull. And I let the shot go. When I watch your shot process, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you pull the trigger on almost on my 10 count anyway. Talk to me about your shot process.
It's funny because I almost feel like there are days where uh there are days where it feels like it goes longer and days where it doesn't, or days where it just
Yeah.
feels more comfortable to be a little bit quicker. But my shot process goes like um assuming that everything before I draw the arrow is the way that it's supposed to be, my stance, my hook,
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. I draw back and aim. I you know I once the aim is on, I say it looks good, and then I tell myself stop aiming, which is like a very
Yeah.
important
Joe.
point.
Yeah.
Um, I do the I've incorporated the what is that called, the safety thing that Joel Turner talks about.
Joel. Yeah. Put the
So
click the safety on. Yeah.
So my safety is my pinky finger, so it's usually around the riser when I
Mm-hmm.
draw. But then once my safety is off, I just bring my pinky finger in, so I have
Mm-hmm.
three fingers around it. So that's basically the sign that I'm not aiming anymore. I'm trying to focus on whatever movement or feeling that I need to get to execute the shot. This is again assuming I do everything right, and then from there I start to expand. And the thing that I tell myself is push, 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 and I just wait for that feeling. Sometimes it just takes longer to get to that feeling, and that's why I might hold a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I can't feel it quite yet. So I'm like, come on, where's it at? Is it there yet? Nope. Okay, come on, keep going. I think so. There it is. And then that's when I let it go.
Nice. Nice.
But there are other days, and I think that's when I actually shoot better. Is when I'm just like, okay, there it is. Boom.
Yeah.
Um, and I could get into more of a groove. But there are just some days, especially like during competitions, where the stakes are a little bit higher, that I start to kind of like, I need a little, my body starts to tense up a little bit, and my biometrics don't feel the same as when I'm practicing, and so I have to be a lot more mindful, and I have to concentrate a lot more to get to that shot execution window. And they think part of it too is just like making sure, like, I don't know, like, it's funny, like my form, like my release looks amazing when I'm practicing, but when I'm in a competition, for whatever reason, people around, I'm just like, like the stakes feel a little bit higher. All of a sudden, my hand is doing this, and I'm doing this. I'm just, and
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just something. That's what I love about trad too, is that, like no 2 days are the same, and like I feel like because of how imperfect it is, like there's always just sort of room to grow and to kind of learn more about yourself, and to get better. And I think that's what I just keep trying to tell myself, that and
It's
like
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful game. It's just it's you against yourself. It's you against yourself every day, and trying to
Yeah.
block out that noise, and finding places where we can bring the pressure on, and for me, like as a hunter, you want to be able to execute. You have to execute on a single shot, under pressure.
Yeah.
Some people just don't feel it. I don't feel it when I'm hunting, but it's difficult. And anyway, you must be doing something right to win buckles out there in California, because there is a lot of good shooters there. There's a lot of good shooters out there. So
Yeah, I mean, there.
congratulations on that.
Yeah, the archery, the traditional archery community, and you've had Nick on here, you've had
Nick, yeah.
Steph, you've had Steph on here, you've had Julie on here. Like, it is so robust, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why I feel like we're a little spoiled out here, because I almost feel like I don't need to travel out of state or do a national competition, because I feel like there's aside from like a couple months during the year, there's like archery shoots. There's 3D shoots almost just about every weekend out here, and within an hour of where I live, sometimes maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but like yeah, there's just like an abundance of opportunities to compete in 3D, and yeah, and in doing so, I've met just a lot of the really good, great archers that live in the state, and yeah, I think yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's some amazing. I mean, I love how difficult it is to. I know that you have those really interesting, difficult 3D courses in California where, the rest of the area around of it, it's all on fire, and you have to run through and try and get the.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how
Hey.
you guys. I don't know. I don't know where you guys shoot when the whole of California is on fire most of the year.
Yeah.
Poor guys. We got to fix that. We got to get that fixed somehow. So I hate to see
I
that place burn to the ground.
I think it's gotten slightly better, but there have been a couple of shoots that I've been to where maybe there's like a wildfire, like a couple cities down, where you could kind of smell a little bit in the air, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that's not something that continues, that ends up being a norm, but it definitely is something that we've had to get accustomed to.
Yeah, it's sad. Hey, let's talk a little bit about what you would do. What advice would you give yourself starting over again? Like that Jack's just starting off, and in 2020 during COVID, like, hey, if you give advice to that kid, what would you say?
I think I started off okay, which was to start small and cheap. I
Yep.
didn't try to,
Yeah.
I didn't try to, I didn't try to get because sometimes I work at the range, and I'll have these new archers wanting to get like the most expensive stuff like right away, and I'm like,
Mhm.
slow down. You just get a start with like, I don't know, you might not like archery, and you spend all this money to get like all this gear. So it's just start small, start cheap. Just get like a 25-30 pound bow that's light, that you could pull back easily, and shoot a lot of arrows with, and work on your form, and work on all those things, and try to develop good habits early on. um, you know, if you can afford it, get some coaching. If you do get a coach, find somebody that at least knows how to shoot bear. If you want to shoot trad, find somebody that at least knows how to shoot barebow, because I think some of those skills translate over into the trad game. Not the aiming method necessarily, but like shooting without a sight, or shooting without a clicker or stabilizers. Like, I think some of those things transfer over into trad. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing that helped me out the most was joining a range. Um, even though I wasn't getting coaching, I was around a lot of the same archers on a regular basis, and I was able to kind of ask them questions. I was fortunate enough to join a range. It's like a single string range, Ohlone Archery in San
Oh
Leandro.
wow,
So
nice.
it's a lot of Olympic archers, but it's also a lot of barebow and trad archers.
Yeah.
Um, so I was able to kind of ask questions, kind of see, kind of like check out how people were shooting and what they were putting on their bows and things like that. And I think that helped fast track my development as an archer as well.
Yeah, no, that's great advice about equipment early on because it's so easy if you're right-handed. If you're right-handed, it is so easy to pick up secondhand, cheap, good equipment because people are. I'm not doing this, or it's like. Let's look at all these stupid bows. I don't even shoot these things here in the back. I'm like these. It's like I got. They're
Yeah,
like tattoos. You get one, and then you got to get a million. I've heard. I don't have any tattoos, but like it's like that, and you just got to keep getting them until you get the right feel. It's a feel game too, right? So yeah, you might if you spend a lot of money and don't like your bow. It's not that the bow's bad or that you're bad, but and you might continue on, but it's just not the right feel for you, and you'll get the right feel and trad's about feel, trad's about looks, man. So we said this earlier on in the show.
yeah,
Going if you don't, it's like I like to preach that trad's a lot about looks because when you're a terrible archer like me, you got to look good when you're out there doing it. You got to look professional. Like if looking at me, I look like a good archer when I'm out there, but yeah, when you shoot with me, it's not. It's a different story. You're helping me find arrows. Anyway,
yeah,
hey, before we call it quits, man, here, which been a great conversation, by the way. Thank you very
yeah. I
much for
appreciate
joining
it.
in and trying to get you on here. And we got run into some scheduling difficulties on my end. So I apologize for that. And thanks very much for being patient. Any shout outs to anyone else? I mean, you've been dropping names all over the place here, but you got any more that you need to pump up?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a lot of the folks that I shoot with. The Ohlone Archery. We call our it's sort of like the field the field team, the sort of the folks that I shoot with outdoors for 3D. And yeah, I just wanted to shout them out because yeah, they're if it wasn't for archery, I probably would have never known these people otherwise,
Yeah,
and
good
just really
people.
developed a community through them and really deep friendships through them just through this game that we play.
Yeah,
And I've also learned because they're all really good archers. And so I've also become a better archer just by hanging out with them.
yeah,
So yeah, just in general, the traditional archery community in California, which I mentioned, is like really robust, really super supportive, and and I think growing. I think in general, like
good.
even there's every now and then you'll get a compound archer that might see us and they be like, "Man, they're having so much fun. I think I want to pick up a longbow." You know what I mean? And so I feel like I don't know if it's a renaissance, but there is maybe a return to to the simplicity of traditional archery that's appealing to a lot of people, and it's really starting to grow. And yeah, so and being part of being sort of part of this California traditional archery community has been a big part of that, and it's been I don't know, man, it's just been uh, it's been life changing for me. I never would have imagined,
Nice.
like even before the pandemic happened, that like this is what I'd be doing 5 years after that. And but like it's been, I don't know if it's a midlife crisis thing or if it's just like, like some people they get that, they get like a sports car. I'm over here doing archery, but I
Yeah.
feel like but it's been just a blessing. It's been like I couldn't have asked for something better to come into my life than Archie for sure.
Yeah, it's heartwarming, man. That is because you find good friends here, good people, and we don't all. I'll just say it out loud. We don't all agree on every single thing. We just don't, and I'm not going to get any further than that. We don't, but we do agree on archery, and we do agree on having fun
Yeah,
and being good people. Like in the end,
absolutely.
it's about being good people.
Yeah,
Except for those compound guys. They're like that's what I'm saying. That's why they're on the outside. They should get therapy. Those guys. No, you were saying like you're getting some people.
Hmm.
you think the compound guys are coming over this way. So you
Absolutely.
heard it here first. DeJesus is saying,
Hey,
walk into the light, walk into the
hey,
light.
come on, y'all are missing out. I mean, this is trad archery's where it's at.
All right. So where can people find you on the socials?
On Instagram, I'm at the Barebow Diaries, the Barebow Diaries, all one word. That's pretty much the reason I started that was actually originally it was to kind of just document my barebow journey and
Journey?
progress.
Yeah,
I
nice.
actually still use it sometimes, just like as a way to take notes on just like things that I am discovering. Um, and even though I don't do barebow as much, longbow still technically barebow, so I still just kind
Yeah.
of kept the name, and so yeah, that's what I do. And if you ever are shooting any 3D in the state of California, especially like near Northern California, the Bay Area, you'll probably see me there.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, say hi. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Ohlone Archery, which is the indoor range that I'm a part of. And they're really instrumental in me me being an archer. And yeah, and San Francisco Archers, which is the new archery range that I'm a member of, because I think, yeah, San Francisco Archers is my favorite outdoor range in ever. Just like,
Really?
in addition to the range itself, just like the kinds of things that they offer. Especially, one of their big tournaments is that is that shoot where there's like dinosaurs and things like that.
Yes, yes,
Dinosaur
yeah, yeah, yeah.
targets, like that's
Yeah.
like so they're just like a well, they got a really huge and dedicated membership. They got and they're pretty well resourced, so they take really good care of that range, and highly recommended as far as if you're ever in the Bay Area and want a range to visit. Definitely check out
Yeah,
San
that's
Francisco
good.
Archers.
Absolutely. And for those people who are watching, thanks very much for sticking with us. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, archerypass.com, especially in California. They're a California based company and they've got great trad gear that you can get there. Don't forget to check out the Push Archery. They have amazing content that you can go there. You heard Jack talk about it a little bit earlier. They've been instrumental in getting multiple people, many hundreds of people into
Yeah,
traditional archery.
including
And so, yeah,
me. Including
including
me.
Jack. So, I mean, those guys are
Yeah.
great. Everything they do over there is amazing, and they're a sponsor of this channel. So we do appreciate that. They help out the little guys too. So don't forget to check those guys out at thepusharchery.com. Thanks again, Jack. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mick. Appreciate the time. And thanks for everything that you do for the RG
Yeah,
community.
you're welcome. All right, everyone. Hunt the good stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
What tab are you shooting?
Ghost!
Ghost tab, obviously.
Don't forget to check out our sponsor, archerypass.com, for all your traditional archery needs.